As Shadow continues his journey with Mr. Wednesday, intangible ideas such as luck, faith, and belief begin to have tangible results. Believe in something, and your whole world can change because you believe it. It's American Gods, Season 1, Episode 3, Head Full of Snow. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of American Gods. So yes, as usual, there are lots of spoilers coming up, starting right now. Alright, so we are continuing our process across America, our little bit of a journey, well, Shadow's journey with Mr. Wednesday to recruit the ancient gods for the war with the new gods. That's really where this is all coming with. But we are continuing to reinforce this viewpoint of faith and belief and how these forces really affect our interaction with the world and affect how we perceive the world around us. Now, the opening bit that we had with Anubis, that lady and taking her across into the realm beyond, I thought was beautiful. I mean, on many levels. One, we are illustrating here how the belief in this world is working. Depending on what God that you are believing, what amount of faith is, that is sort of the afterlife, that is sort of the transition that you're going to believe in. Because this lady was taught when she was young about the old ways and the ancient gods, and her belief seems to be fixated when she has died, slipped on that teetering stool right there, trying to get stuff off the top shelf. That is why Anubis shows up to transition her over. This is about who you believe in. Wednesday goes on very much later in a beautiful sequence about the different colored Jesuses that are out there. White Jesus needs to suffer a little bit more, and there's black Jesus and Mexican Jesus and all of this. These are, a lot of people need Jesus, a lot of people need faith, and therefore there are a lot of Jesuses. Your faith is maintaining and creating these gods. Because this lady still believes in the old ways, believes in the ancient Egyptian ways, that has allowed gods like Anubis and such to still continue. Which is another reason why Wednesday mentions later on, sort of the very end of the episode, that his biggest fear is to be forgotten. As long as anybody still believes in these gods, even in a superfluous manner, their existence still perpetuates. The amount of their strength depends on the level of belief and how many believers that they have. But as long as there is some belief being assigned to them, they can continue. And that just was the whole reasoning behind the whole opening bit there with the lady going up. Beautifully shot. The colors on that stairwell were amazing. That sort of blue-green against the red brick. Just popped. A lot of beautiful color work as usual in this show. And I enjoyed the fact when they went up and they weighed off her heart. You know, they did the balance. Did you live a balanced life? We weigh your heart against the weight of a feather, and if your life has been balanced, then you are deemed worthy and you can continue on. If you are not, well, things get bad. And for her, at least, it went well. I enjoyed the fact also, her sense of contrition. As her heart was being weighed, she is acknowledging the mistakes that she made. In some ways, you might say that this is sort of a last confessional. Let me acknowledge my sins. But she didn't do it in a way of apologizing, just as acknowledging the fact that I haven't lived a perfect life. But it's not about perfection here. It's about a balanced life. Sure, you may have made mistakes, but have you overcome them? Have you paid for them? Have you grown? Have you evolved? And for her, that did appear to be the case. And, of course, I also enjoyed the fact that she asked Anubis for advice. She didn't know where she was going. She had belief in this system. She had knowledge of that, but maybe not the ability to make the right choices, and didn't want to make a choice, which I enjoyed also, that would put her up with her dad, with the people that were cruel to her. She didn't want to share that same afterlife. And who really pushed her to make that final choice? The cat pushed her in. Her cat, little hairless, and of course cats very strong in Egyptian mythology. So quite an appropriate opening scene altogether. But of course, we do quickly get back to our main storyline, and here, of course, Shadow, wait until morning to get his head smashed in by Czernobog. But salvation does come in the form of the third sister, Zorha Polnochnia. Hopefully I didn't butcher that too badly. And that is the North Star. Polnochnia is the third sister, and she is associated with the North Star. She is also the goddess of divination, which is why we had Cloris Leachman's throwaway line last week of, you should meet my sister, she is better at telling fortunes than all of us. Quick comment out here, Jack Butler, one of our other viewers, he is a professor of mythology and was dropping some serious knowledge in last week's comments. You guys should go and check it out. But he did give us the heads up here, is that the little joke about her always sleeping is Polnochnia is only awake for a couple of hours. She wakens an hour before midnight and then goes back to sleep an hour after midnight. So she was only awake in that short period of time. So there was a bit of a joke that mythologists can understand right there, which is kind of an inside bit I really appreciate. So thank you, Jack, for giving us that heads up. I look forward to hearing more information that we are all missing. Anyway, but she's the goddess of divination. She is trying to give Shadow a little bit of a heads up. I loved her reaching for the moon there and just yanking that down into a new coin for him. Remember, he had Sweeney's coin last week, which he tossed into the grave, which, as we'll hit later on, does have its own particular effects. But her comment is, you had the sun and now you have the moon. I think the sun was referring to Mad Sweeney's coin, and both of these are obviously very associated with luck. Another sense of belief. Is luck what you believe in it or what you don't? And the power of that belief can literally affect the world. For Shadow, having this coin does seem to improve his luck. It certainly allows him to beat Czernobog in a rematch. But this luck still playing very differently for Mad Sweeney. With the loss of that coin, things are going really, really badly for him. Waking up with a nice little shotgun hello, that was sweet. And the journey in the car, I really enjoyed that. One, the driver was Scott Thompson, who used to be in the Kids in the Hall. Great comedy troupe. I have loved their stuff for years. I really enjoyed the bits that Sweeney was upset that he didn't want to be. He's not a rapist and he doesn't want him grabbing his junk while he's sleeping. Scott Thompson plays a lot of gay men in the Kids in the Hall series. So whenever I see that, there are just so many other scenes with him that start to come into mind. I really enjoyed that moment. As brief as it was, because with the poor luck that Sweeney is experiencing, it doesn't go to his head, it really goes to Scott Thompson's head, or through it, with that nasty pipe drop. And even worse, he doesn't die immediately. He's still alive for a little while there when he's reacting, which is totally wrong. But that sort of propels Sweeney off to go and recover his coin. For luck, for him, very important. So we're seeing the effects of these two ideas of luck. For Shadow, that change of luck and improvement really improves his chances, improves his future and where he's going. For Mad Sweeney, that same turn of luck, losing it, is kind of a death sentence until he can turn that around. Now, the other character that sort of has their luck changed around, shifted around, is our salesman character, who starts off having just a horrible day, spending the entire day waiting for a meeting that's never going to come. I did love how they showed that passage of time, with not only him shifting and moving positions, sped it up, but also the clock superimposed over on the background. A lot of wonderful shots that were done in this. Even when he steps into the cab, when his life starts to change, he steps in the cab and he meets the Ifrit. When they're speaking back and forth, the subtitles, having the Sanskrit in the background and the English on top of that as they're speaking, I mean, they just add such a wonderful flavor, and you really get to connect in with where they're coming from. You start to get the feeling of their homeland. That whole idea and feeling I thought was really well conveyed within that scene. We did meet briefly the Efreet last week. He was talking with Wednesday there in the cafe. But if you noticed, he was wearing the same suit then as the salesman is wearing in tonight's episode. So I think this might have happened before last week's. We've got sort of a little bit of a time shift here. And I think what they did is that they have switched identities. It took a little bit to sort of figure that out. I mean, the whole sequence I thought was beautifully done. That scene in the hotel, and they have their little moment. They're having the romantic interlude. I love how it shifts again back into sort of the sands of the desert, much like the Anubis scene that we had in the opening. And then when they had the whole black bodies and all, and it was very almost like this kind of polished onyx of, glistening stone the two of them were made from. Gave that very mythological, very statuesque feel to their interaction. I thought was nice. And the flame effects were beautiful. I mean, just as he stands there and he's moving around and he's just fully himself, and then he just has these flaming eyes. But really strong images right here. But that whole lovemaking scene, I think what that illustrated when they did get to that sort of black onyx body thing, and we see the fire flaming in the Efreet and then shooting into the salesman there. And then we get that final shot as it sort of, that flame fills him up and then lights his eyes up just as the Efreet's were. And when he wakes up, he seems to just go, surprisingly find the ID, dress in the Efreet's old clothing, and gets into the cab. Now remember, he had talked about he had just gotten to America. He has been a salesman. He is selling crap. It isn't working well for him. He doesn't feel that his luck is working. And he feels that it's improved from meeting the Efreet because, he's a nice looking guy. But it seems, that's what I'm saying, I think that he changed positions. I think the Efreet became the salesman became the cabbie. They switched identities, not really bodies, but identities, and that would explain why the Efreet was wandering around in the salesman's suit afterwards, why he was traveling around and is no longer a cabbie. So I think that was the good luck that the cabbie was referring to, is that he does grant wishes. Now he has a life where he has a better job, or at least something that empowers him a bit more. That's what I got out of that. It also reinforces that concept of sex as a transmorgative idea. We had with Bilquis, how Bilquis has sex with her subjects and absorbs them. For the Efreet, who isn't so much for God, jinn, there's a little kind of a different level for it. There is still that power change, that exchange that goes on. So a lot of stuff with all of the gods is going to center around agreements, contracts, sexual exchange, those types of things, all very strong in ancient mythology and very applicable in the world here. But with all of these things changing, one person that is not immune or stepped away from that is Wednesday himself. That whole scene with Cloris Leachman, where he sort of kisses her and the rain starts. Her acknowledgement that, what have you done? When she first read his tea leaves, the battle was over, you were going to lose, it was all going to end, you were going to be killed. And his line immediately after that is, that's my fortune now. Throughout this journey, he is not only recruiting people for his fight, he is seemingly changing part of his fate. And a lot of that centers around Shadow. We are getting more ideas into Shadow's powers right here because we seem to imply that whole idea again of belief. Do you believe that you can change the weather? Do you believe that you can make it snow? Focus on it, head full of snow, and you can make that reality happen. This is part of that second change that's going on with Shadow. Before, he was himself, and then he sort of got an idea into the gods and sort of was willing to sort of play with it. But here now he's starting to see the actual power behind that as it's manifesting inside of himself. That's what this whole last bit was for him when Wednesday was trying to get him going, which is why, of course, Shadow is not just a regular human being. He is divine on some level in some way. Half divine, full divine. Again, we don't know the whole story yet. Those of us who haven't read the book, if you read the book, please don't tell us. let us enjoy the show. But this is that manifestation, and this is that journey in for him. I have to say, I really enjoyed... I enjoyed lots of stuff in this episode. The bank robbery was awesome. Specifically, mainly because he didn't rob the bank. He robbed the customers depositing into the bank. Which was perfect, because he goes in and he gets all of those deposit slips, and then he uses those to hand out to the people later on as he's dressed up as a guard. Here, I'll take your deposits, we'll fill out your slip, we'll make it look all official. Boom! The business cards he printed up for himself and Shadow so that the cops would call Shadow that's hanging over by the payphone. Brilliant. Managed to rob the bank without stepping foot into the bank. Beautiful. Not what expected. And of course it was successful. Which is where we get to that last little line. Again, it's that reinforcement that Wednesday is trying to do in with Shadow, is you must believe these things. You have to change these things. You have to breath these things up. Make them a part of your life, because this is, your whole world can change. I think using the idea of love was perfect, because it is an emotion that all of us are familiar with. And you can think you know what love is like, and then you experience it, and it does. It becomes a different thing. You can think of what parenthood is like, and then you have a child, and then it becomes a different thing. What we think is going to be is often not the truth of what it actually is. And once we have those differences, we can see the entire open world, which is why he says, so you didn't believe in something, and then you believed in it, and then your world changed because you believed, because of that belief. That can sum up most of this show right here in that one simple line. It's all about belief. And once you believe in something, once you make that choice, once you commit to that, your whole world will change because of it. All right, just a couple of small little things here. One, I love the old checkers set. The old wooden checkers with the paint peeling off of it. There was just so much character inside of that versus just, plain uniform plastic pieces. It was just, it fit the character, that's what Czernobog would have, something old, something tangible like that. But it came across on camera beautifully. Looked just amazing. The younger Zorha's statement on kissing I thought was great. Kissing is disgusting, but in a good way. Yeah, that could be said for a lot of things like that. I already mentioned how much I love the fire effects for the Ep3 eyes, but there was also one shot in the cab when he pulled his glasses up, and the brake lights from the vehicle behind is shining right where his eyes are, kind of like mini fires coming through the glasses. It was just an extra little awesome add-on to that scene. Oh, and back to that scene where Wednesday is talking with the older Zorha, Cloris Leachman's character, and she asks him, "What did you change?" Now in that, the younger sister is looking up through the telescope at Odin's wing, the bear, the Big Dipper, the creature that is chained up in the sky. I did have a momentary fear that Wednesday has done something to release this creature. If you do it, it changes, it's going to end the world. Is that something he wants in his back pocket? Is that an option that he's holding? I'm not sure, but because of the overlay of the scenes and ideas there, let's keep an eye out on that one. And as big and as tough as Shadow Moon is, I love the fact that he wants marshmallows in his cocoa. Alright, so one of Wednesday's last lines to Shadow were, of course, is, "You are pretending to be a man that doesn't believe in impossible things." So he's about to run into an impossible thing, as when Sweeney goes to retrieve his coin from the grave of Laura, we see that not only has it sunk itself into the earth, but right through the casket and apparently reanimated Laura, who is waiting on the bed for Shadow as soon as he walks into his hotel room. That is going to be a very uncomfortable conversation, I think. Do want to let you guys know, I am going to be doing a little bit over with the Enchantment of Eternity. You might have remembered a few weeks ago I did a podcast over there with them talking about the wrap-up for Black Sails. Well, we're going to be doing a Game of Thrones bit. We're going to watch Game of Thrones, do a commentary over the episode. Coming up, I believe, in a couple of weeks, we're still trying to nail down dates and which episode that we're going to do. I will let you guys know as that occurs. So something to look forward to if you're also a Game of Thrones fan. So, like I said, it for now then. If you do like this review, please hit that like button. Thoughts, ideas, comments, throw those down as usual in the section below. I love the back and forth that we are having. You guys are just blowing it with just some amazing ideas and insights. I love the chatter, so please keep it up. Add your thoughts down to it. I really do appreciate it. Now you can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram, of course. I'm at Darren Jakes. But if you don't want to miss any of our upcoming shows and you are not a subscriber, it's really easy to become one. You just hit me in the face. This face right over here, that picture of me, and you won't miss anything. And I will throw up our latest review, of course, for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right there, and you can check that out. So, that's going to be it. I am D, and I'm out of here. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.